Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, a very warm welcome to all of you from the rainy Zalaegerszeg, from ZalaZONE, on the third trilateral conference between Austria, Slovenia, and Hungary. This is a tradition, and this is the third step of this tradition. And despite the fact that we had to postpone a little bit due to the COVID situation, we are really glad that we can welcome you on an online form. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Zsolt Szalai, and I'm heading the research and innovation here at ZalaZONE, and I will be your moderator for today. Originally, we planned to keep this third trilateral conference in a whole-day event, but due to the fact that we have to shift to an online form, we created a more compact, more focused program. I'm really sorry that based on your feedback, one of the most valuable part of the trilateral conferences, namely the networking possibility among the stakeholders, cannot be fulfilled and achieved through an online form, but I'm really hoping that today's discussion and today's event will be as effective as possible. I'm also glad to announce you that more than 150 participants are watching now the online conference. The program will be according to the following. I'm really glad that Professor Zoran Ren from the University of Maribor accepted our invitation for the keynote presentation. After that, you will be hearing 4 lectures, the results of the Austrian-Hungarian innovation cooperation on the CCAM and future mobility as a status report or feedback from the phase 1 achievements and results. After that, we will welcome the feedback and the comments of the financing agencies from Austria and from Hungary. Special greetings to them to accepting our invitation, and I'm really glad that they can also participate the feedback procedure, and we can also hear their views for the future. After this, I will greet Martin Russ from Austria, summarizing the state of play among these 3 countries. At the end, before the end of the conference, there will be an announcement of the continuation of the cooperation, of the trilateral cooperation. I would like to ask each participant and each presenter to keep the timing, so that we can fulfill the conference in time. Before we switch to the first presenter, I have 2 administrative reports to you. First, I would like to ask the presenters not to click on the join stage icon. We, as the organizer, will send an invitation to each presenter before the presentation, and just please accept the pop-up window so that you can have the screen on top. And another remark to the audience, there will be a chat room available throughout the conference. This is fully public, so you can share the information, you can chat with each other in an open way. And there is also a questions section that is sending the questions to the organizers to us, and we will try to address these questions to the relevant people. So that was the beginning, and as the first presenter, I would like to ask Professor Dr. Zoran Ren from the University of Maribor, Vice Rector for Science and Research, to keep his keynote presentation. Professor Ren, the floor is yours.
Good morning. I can see myself, so I hope you can see also me. I will share my presentation with you. Let me see. Okay, it is working. In the next 10 minutes, I would like to spend some words on practices in international R&D cooperation. Let me introduce myself. As Professor Szalai has said, my name is Zoran Ren. Currently, I am Vice Rector for Science and Research at the University of Maribor. Otherwise, I'm engaged with the automotive industry and the road safety industry for more than 20 years. I'm specializing in computer simulations, advanced computer simulations for crash optimization of cars and road safety elements. But today I will be talking about international research and development cooperation. So what is research and development international cooperation? First of all, cooperation is the action of a process of working together to the same end. It means that more than one group, one team, one institution cooperate towards the same goal. Then we have international. The international means that we mix into cooperation specific culture and legislation backgrounds, which of course make such international cooperation always interesting and beneficial for everybody. And then on top of that, we put dynamics on the research and development, which of course introduces some research uncertainty, a lack of resources, as we all know, at the present time, possible high fail rate, and so forth. So all this is, of course, a very dynamic process, which, of course, is of interest of many stakeholders. So higher education institutions nowadays engage in international cooperation for several reasons. Of course, one of those is international exposure, gaining experience, making collaborative effort which matters in the world. Then we have different associations, clusters, networks, separate research institutions like institutes. Then, of course, governments and regulatory bodies are always interested in certain outcomes. Of course, we should never forget about the public interested in our work and which is impacted directly by our work. Of course, we always take special care about funding institutions. We need money, so we always compete for some money. And of course, the work we usually do makes way over the value of that to the companies that must be, of course, research and development oriented as such. If we look at the knowledge transfer model, first, of course, here is the, let's say, path that from research we gain several types of research outputs, and then we have to engage in knowledge transfer activities, which are not that easy and need a structured approach, so that we, of course, impact the economics of our countries and recently, of course, across the world, and that this has a certain economic impact. Because this loop is not only one way, it is always two ways. If we make with research economic impact, of course, our research gets then better funded in the future, and we can make better things. Of course, in that, we see that now we have to do a collaborative research, because the days that we could do only one science, certain field, have long gone. Of course, nowadays we are addressing much more serious societal issues, and those issues can only be solved by international collaboration. So what would be a motivation for such a collaboration? Of course, always there is a challenge. Scientists, researchers, we like to have challenges, and this drives our innovation process. We are always trying to extend beyond what we have at the present, and of course we are expanding in terms of knowledge and our capabilities. Nowadays it is much easier to collaborate also in the virtual sense, and that makes sense then to pool resources so that we do not double invest in certain very expensive equipment, but that we can use resources that are available either physically or online. And of course, we would like to make an influence on the society. So we are trying to turn some of our research results into products, processes, and services in real world. So what are the ground rules of such a collaboration? First of all, the relationship and expectations between collaborating parties should be clear and well defined in advance. So if we want to have a successful collaboration, then we have to first decide what are the expected inputs and outcomes of any collaboration. Of course, then it's sometimes a question of intellectual property issues if the research gets marketed, and the collaboration should always be open, and we should recognize we are all different and unique, and we all have specific needs. If those needs are discussed at the beginning of collaboration, then of course we are better understanding each other, and we can secure successful and mutually beneficial cooperation. Also, collaboration should be, let's say, supported by the institution. So it should be a part of an overall research and development management of participating institutions, because without a serious support of our institutions, no matter what institution that is, we can run into some problems later on when we see some interesting results. And of course, the collaboration should always be a mixture of fundamental and applied research, which in our experience, or in my experience, of course, is always a factor which contributes to the success of such a collaboration, because now there was a certain period when such collaborations were only interested in making joint applications, whatever reason, or career advance, or whatever. Nowadays, it is of course more important what is the applied impact of such a collaboration in certain countries. So usually countries have interest to attract some scientists from other better developed countries perhaps, or that have something to offer, to market those ideas or research outputs at their countries, which is of course always a legitimate reason. Also, we should always consider sharing liability. So the input of collaboration should be always matched by partners, and this liability should always be borne by both partners, hopefully equally. And also we have to develop respective to what we are seeing a lot of nowadays, which is working in our society, because I still remember in my young days that there was a respect in our societies for other people, other professions, for whatever reasons, which nowadays we have to, of course, continue to support the respect. We see our sportsmen are doing respect in the best fashion possible, and respect also needs to be returned back to science and research, which is very important, because when collaborators are, of course, respected to any research activity, of course, we have to recognize this, and we have to show the respect, and of course, this brings another additional value to all the research. And of course, we always worry about the resources. We are trying to nowadays find resources, we call it layer-wise. So we layer an investment from different sources that are possible to secure, because our public sources, especially the public institutions, are always not sufficient. This is not only a case in, let's say, our country, but in many countries across Europe, across the world, and this is a reality that we should accept, should also behave accordingly. What I'm trying to say is that for a successful international research and development cooperation, we should make a layer-wise cake. So we should have the good ingredients to make the first phase, then we have to build a cake from different layers, and at the end, hopefully, we will see many products with many good outcomes, which could be beneficial for society and inevitably also for us as persons. Now, just a couple of interesting data about international cooperation in Slovenia, a tool that was made recently between people that were engaged in international collaboration. A fifth of them gained new experience, which is not a very high percentage. Only 16% established lasting contacts with foreign organizations, which is also not a high percentage. We have developed some new research fields from only 15% of such collaborations and initiated some new university subjects, postgraduate qualifications, and courses. Only 9% of such collaborations received additional funding. You can see those percentages are very low, which of course gives us an indication that we should do better in this area, especially in our countries. If we compare to some other neighboring countries, Austria, especially also Hungary, in the recent years, we see that such efforts are much better or supported and have much better outcomes. And in our country, of course, I will not be pessimistic, but we see good changes in the supporting international operations in spite of current limitations due to coronavirus outbreak. We should look beyond that and also take this time to let's say, formalize some of our experience with partners abroad. Okay. And at the end, international cooperation is helping to respond to global challenges today with the perspective of local environments. We should never underestimate the perspective of local environments. This is something that we all bring into our international cooperation. And with that, we are contributing to building complementary innovation-driven society. With that, I will conclude my very short presentation. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm available for any questions in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor, and for your really valuable thoughts and really good advices. I personally noticed 2 or 3 of them, which I will immediately use in my current ongoing projects. And as an overall suggestion package, I think we will be glad to use it in the next cooperation of a trilateral level. Thank you very much again, Professor.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Let me be very proud for the next section, because when we initially started the trilateral cooperation, we also identified 5 different layers that will cooperate with each other among Austria, Slovenia, and Hungary. And these are the universities, there were governmental agreement, there were road operator cooperation, there was, of course, the proving ground relationship, and last but not least, the cluster related cooperation. And we arrived to a very important milestone now, because we are now receiving, or will be receiving, the very first tangible results of the research and innovation related cooperation. I'm a little bit sad about that initially this research and innovation cooperation was planned to be also trilateral, so also Slovenia was planned to take part in this, but as the first success, only Austria and Hungary could establish a framework to support the financial background to start the trilateral cooperation. And I'm really glad to announce that the next hour will be about the feedback and the status of the very first results. You will be hearing 4 10-minute presentation summarizing the achieved results in the phase 1 cooperation in the Austrian and Hungarian relation on the CCAM future mobility. There were 3 winning consortia from the Austrian side, and there was 1 winning consortium from the Hungarian side, and all these 4 consortia will provide you a feedback about their results and their achievements. So first, I would like to ask Dr. Veronika Putz from the Linz Center of Mechatronics on the stage to summarize the fleet-based qualification of transitional road networks for autonomous driving. The floor is yours, please.
can you see and hear me? So I will try to share my presentation now. So my name is Veronica. Thank you for the introduction, and I am a team leader of the team Data Analytics and AI at the Linz Center of Mechatronics. And today I present the results of our project on behalf of my colleague Leander Hörmann, who led the project, but unfortunately cannot participate here today. So our project was about the fleet-based qualification of a transnational road network for autonomous driving. And goals are, at first, to set up and create a concept for a capability map for advanced driver assistance and autonomous driving functions on a transnational road level. And of course, to enhance the cooperation of automotive test centers and test regions in Austria and Hungary. So the vision was to create a dynamic multi-layer capability map, which includes information on the applicability and on the expected reliability of ADAS and AD functions in an upcoming road network. So this will consider long-term degradation like road wear and tear, for example, the degradation of road markings, some short-term occurrences like road constructions and missing road signs, and furthermore some abrupt changes like traffic congestions, accidents, and weather conditions. So the map will need to consider geographic constraints, climatic constraints, and also some legal constraints depending on the road and also on the nationality we operate in. To fulfill this, the DMC map needs to integrate fleet-based sensors, information from roadside infrastructure sensors, and also data from remote services. So, of course, the main objective of the exploratory project was to build an ecosystem and to gather important know-how for the successful preparation of a strong follow-up R&D project. And for this, we identified a couple of objectives. And the first objective is, of course, to analyze the required information an ADAS and AD driving function needs, to influence which factors degrade this information, and also to analyze to what extent this degradation influences ADAS and AD capability. And the next objective was very important for us. We would put a strong focus on the use cases, which were formulated together with external stakeholders. And finally, we had the objectives to derive more information about the technical requirements and also about the experiments which will be required to test the system. As for the use cases, one of the results of our exploratory project is a very detailed information about 3 different use cases. And the first important use case for our DMC map is the use case where the driver is in the focus. So the idea is to create an information system which can inform the user or the driver of a car equipped with ADAS and AD functionality if something is going on in an upcoming road segment which might influence the capability of the used system for autonomous driving. So for this use case, it's of course required to have a very decent HMI design, to have user acceptance, and also to have usability granted in a driving situation. And this requires a lot of analysis work on different scenarios. The second use case is a bit different. It focuses the road infrastructure or more detailed road operators which offer road infrastructure. And the idea is to have an information system which informs, of course, about maintenance which might be required in a road segment, but also on the capability of this road segment, or an input for a dynamic permission system which allows or does not allow using ADAS or AD functions on this road segment. And finally, we have a use case which is focused on automotive test standards and test regions, and also on researchers. The idea is to use the map, or to use the data included in the map to extract difficult traffic scenarios and difficult edge cases, which may lead to an accident, but also which almost led to an accident, and to derive some edge cases for a more focused testing of these cases in the test centers. So this is focused on test regions and test centers. This slide shows one of the results obtained in the exploratory project. So you can see an overview of the data acquisition subsystem of the DMC map, which is different for the 3 use cases we just discussed. So for the first use case, for the fleet-based sensor information this slide shows the data acquisition for the 3 use cases, and we have 3 sources of data. We have the fleet-based sensor source, which needs to be pre-processed on board in an onboard pre-processing step to extract the relevant information and to forward this information with a wireless transmission to the DMC map. And second, we have infrastructure-based sensors, and third, we have the remote services which are connected using cloud services and also provide input for the DMC map. The next slide shows the internal structure of the map, which includes also a pre-processing and analysis step of the incoming data. And again, there is, from all the data sources, the information relevant is extracted, and different layers of the capability map are updated. The storage of the map will be based on existing mapping standards, and standards need to be selected which can provide the necessary temporal and also the necessary spatial resolution requirements. And finally, there needs to be a service interface, and this interface will provide the relevant information for the specific use cases. And on the output side, there is a distinction between the 3 different use cases, and depending on the use case, the information flow can be described as follows. So for the first use case, for the driver information system, the relevant information is transmitted wirelessly to the vehicles, and this in the vehicle there needs to be some kind of user interface for a driver information system which provides the required information for the driver. For the road operator information system, the relevant information is transmitted to the road operators, and they integrate the information in the road maintenance and dynamic permission recommender system. And for the third use case, all this relevant information on edge cases and accidents is transmitted, and the test centers can update their knowledge about the edge cases. So, as a summary and as an outlook of the follow-up project, the most important objectives for the follow-up project are to develop a dynamic and real-time multi-layer capability map, which has a solution for instant update, for validation, and for the provision of the obtained quality of the upcoming road segment. The second objective is the integration of roadside infrastructure sensors and also of remote services. Third objective is the development and the test of fleet-based sensors, and also of a dynamic update of the information of all sensor sources for the transnational road network. Very important for the follow-up project will be a pilot operation which makes use of the developed fleet-based sensor system on Austrian and Hungarian road networks. And finally, what we need to have is user-centered prototyping and also an impact assessment of the demonstrated functionality for the different use cases. And this should definitely include also sustainable development goals. So at current, we are preparing a concept for the structure of the follow-up project, as well as the consortium, including the relevant stakeholders. And we are looking forward to keep you updated on our project. So thank you very much for the attention. I tried to summarize everything in a very short time. Please feel free to ask some questions, or if in a lack of time, contact us via email. On the slide, you can also see a summary or an overview of our consortium. Many of them participate today, I already saw. So please use the occasion to talk to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your project summary. And now we switch to the next presentation, and I ask Norbert Heinitz from the Austrian Institute of Technology to provide the status report for the Hub Connect project. Norbert, the floor is yours, please.
Hello, good morning from my side. I will try to share the slides. So you can see the slides now. So good morning from my side. Again, I will do the second presentation. And my name is Norbert Heinitz. Some of you may know me from the FFG, from the Austrian Research Promotion Agency. I have joined the Austrian Institute of Technology in March this year, and I'm now proud to present to you quite of an impression of Hub Connect. I've provided a lot of slides, but I do not want to go too detailed into the topics now, to keep it quite short, but it's more in a protocol for you. Well, what do I want to talk about? I'll give you a short overview and about the next steps and results, and try to outline the new project. First of all, what was the project about? It was efficient and automated connected transport hub logistics, and it was a cooperation of AIT, IESTA, and Business Upper Austria. There have been a lot of stakeholders involved into the project. It lasted from the 1st January until the 30th of September. And this is the big picture of the project. The project focuses on terminals and hubs and other logistics environments. And as you can see here, it should focus on a whole supply chain, because of the hubs are one of the important parts to make an efficient and automated step forward to make logistics more effective, and to have good new logistics processes using automatic enhancements and technologies. The project vision was, as I said, to enhance the Central European knowledge network, and to enable testing of automated multimodal operations within logistics hubs. So not only the road vehicles, but the handling of the goods to other modes, and to make them more efficient and save costs and environmental resources, in order to become better at that, and to have some new aspects leading to a modal shift from, for example, from the street to other modes like the train, for example. And yeah, that's the market competitiveness. That's what I wanted to say. Here you can see the test levels, the different test levels of the test environments, of course, and we want to make sure that all of the technical enhancements are be able to test it and to be certified. Later on, we have to look on the legal aspects as well. We have to look at at safety and security, at communication technology, and, for example, of course, on different use cases which are covered by the hub handling. This goes from the terminal check-in to the vehicle maneuvering, loading of goods, and the reloading to different modes, such as to planes, harbors, rail, and of course to the street as well. And all the requirements in the logistics processes which have a need for technical enhancements. And yeah, the modal handling, of course, I've said already. Yeah, the approach was to involve transnational stakeholders and to define some scenarios which are very relevant and which can be which can enhance all these technological impacts with business cases. And the third was to identify the technical and non-technical requirements and boundary conditions which should be recognized in the next project. So we have created a kind of a big picture of what is covered by the project, and with the relevant use cases in Austrian and Hungarian hubs, it should include all modes. We have separated and matched it every time to the categories: logistics, vehicle, infrastructure, and testing, because we have to develop the technologies and later on should be able to test it in the testing regions. The project shall enhance the possibilities of the testing regions and bring it further to be a kind of a model for the European testing regions. The stakeholder categories, you can see the stakeholder categories here, which have had to be included into the project, and as you can see, it's about the whole supply chain. We have defined the three scenarios. It's hub.drive, which is the automated handling at logistics hubs itself. The cargo, so the handling to shift the modes, and hub link to link different hubs on a small scale. The hub drive covers the terminal check-in and the entry, vehicle maneuvering and docking, and uncoupling and coupling and upcoupling of trailers. And as you can see here, we have defined a lot more of that, and we are now searching for partners who are able to help in the project to get to the best results as hub operators, trailer partners, sensor technology providers and integrators, and of course the testing regions. We have had a lot of talks by now, but we need to gain more. As you can see here, the business cases are quite good for cooperating. The next One is the hub.cargo use case, which is the loading of the goods with special vehicles and the automation of the processes until that there is no driver anymore, so it's level 5. But first of all, we have to test all these technologies and be sure that it's safe and sufficient. Here we need, of course, hub operators as well, logistic partners, which tell us what the problems are and what has to be addressed as well to have the best of the impact out of it. As well as, for example, partners from all modes, so that the integration is more sure done. And the third one is the hub link, which is the link between two terminals and covers the automated driving between nearby hubs, including roads and automated train operations. So there would be a possibility to fully automate the linkage between two hubs, which could be more effective and more energy saving, of course. But another project results were the business cases, which are testing and certification of the logistical applications, data as a service, so that all data which is tested and provided and processed data can be supplied for other services. And of course, making companies fit for automated driving, especially the inspection and maintenance ones, which will be the next companies which have to cope with the integration of automated services and automated technologies. And the providing of relevant resources for testing and evaluation. We want to make the cooperating testing regions better with testing procedures and procedures for certification and to gain more information for leading to better products and legislation, for example, later on these experiences. This is the project outlines. You can see the big picture as well. There are two parts. One is the specification of automated logistics scenarios, the deployment, the development and integration of automated driving technologies as the technological parts, and of course the process integration for the logistics operations. Apart from that, we have to do the test design and the integration into the proving ground infrastructure and development of it, as well as we want to do real tests and pilots in the real world, under real world conditions later on in the project. And of course, in the project, there must be a monitoring and impact assessment task, so to monitor the technical and environmental impacts and the economical impacts, of course. What are the next steps? The next step will be forming a working group in an ideation workshop for interested stakeholders on the 30th October. It will be from 9 to 10:30, so you can join if you want to there. We will try to discuss about the project contents and about the integration of your company, if you're interested. And we are, of course, searching lots of partners from the industry, such as trailers, communication sensors and automation, and from the logistics and infrastructure operators. And we need all modes, of course, to make it as broad as possible to think of every requirement which could be needed in formal tests. Of course, we need testing regions, and it would be nice to have additional companies for standardization and certification tasks, for example, so that in the end, not only the testing regions are there, but also companies who have to then certify some technological parts, also for the development of standardization as well. So if you're on board at this time, this would be very good for all of us. And of course, cluster organizations and legal experts, which always are relevant in this topic. So thank you for the presentation, and yeah, you can here see now my contact details. Please contact me if you're interested, and you could see later on we can develop things later on a bilateral basis. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Norbert, for the summary of the project, and special thanks for precisely keeping the time frame. Thank you very much. And now we switch to our next presenter, who is Jakob Rechenzaun from Virtual Vehicle, providing us an insight into the Test EPS project. Jakob, the floor is yours, please.
Hello, everyone, also from my side. So video and audio seems to work. I will just share my screen. I hope you can see my presentation now. Unfortunately, I have only one screen connected today, therefore I would need some audio feedback if something is not working, but I assume everything goes fine. So my name is Jakob Rechenzaun, working at Virtual Vehicle Research Center, and I was responsible for the Test EPS project, which stands for Testing and Verification Methods for Environmental Perception Systems. I want to give you a short overview over the project, then jump directly into our key results, and finally conclude with some next steps that we are planned that will going to happen within the next weeks and months. So the project, as the other Austrian project, was an exploratory project or Sondierung, running from January to September. So the project just finished, and partner-wise, we had, so beside us, it was IESTA, Uranium Research and AVL on board. And we had very good cooperation also with our LOE partners. This was mainly AlpLab and ASFINAG on the Austrian side, and ZalaZONE, Technical University of Budapest, and Zone Cluster on the Hungarian side. So what was the aim, and what was the aim for the exploratory project, and what did we do with regards to the follow-up project? So the exploratory project first provided answer on what's the state of the art regarding EPS testing methods, and what are current limitations, and what could be potential challenges and problems that we are interested in solving within the follow-up project. So the question was, what is our aim in the main project, and what resources and additional partners are needed for that? So we came up with created a vision for the follow-up project. So we want to realize certified environmental perception systems for robust and safe operation of automated mobility. And how we intend to doing this? So we want to develop virtual and real cross-border testing approaches that finally enable a certification of EPS systems, and also with taking into consideration any rules, regulation, and legal aspects that come along with this mission. Just maybe as if you're not too deep into this topic, so if we speak about environmental perception systems, that's the vision of an automated vehicle. So how the vehicle understands its environment, and basically how the vehicle sees its environment. There was a lot of text, so maybe in a picture, our idea is to create a transnational testing environment for these perception systems. And we want to include Austrian test tracks, test regions, as well as Hungarian test tracks, test regions, focusing on challenges that arise when a vehicle passes a border crossing situation, as well as when a vehicle drives on a secondary road network. And we think that the certification is only possible with the smartest combination of real tests and virtual tests. And what I try to line out here is on the left side, simulation frameworks that can test certain testing subjects. On the right-hand side, you have different proving grounds, proving areas, maybe stretches on real roads that also deliver certain testing subjects, and both together should then lead to methods and the process that helps to certify the perception of the automated vehicle. That was a very quick and dense overview on what was planned in the project. And now I want to show you some of our key results that we achieved last month. So we actually identified 11 technical and non-technical challenges to be addressed in the follow-up project. So apart from doing paperwork, we also did some real, let's say, real-world activities. So we participated in the M86 measurement campaign. I'm sure Victor will tell a little bit about that in the next presentation. There we contributed with an HD mapping, which is for us static ground truth generation, also scenario definition, and participated with 2 vehicles for also contributing to this dynamic ground truth generation. We had 2 stakeholder workshops, which was actually, one was actually face-to-face as it was before lockdown. The second was online, and we had several additional workshops regarding different topics that were related to the project. We wrote 6 deliverables that were finished on time, and I'm very happy to tell that we contribute to a joint Hungarian-Austrian publication, which is a very nice result, as this is targeted to a strong Austrian-Hungarian relation. And I've also I'm proud to tell that we had a very active exchange and great cooperation with the Hungarian consortium or Hungarian exploratory project. So in the next 2 slides, I want to give you a little bit of an idea regarding this participation in the measurement campaign. So we, as I said, UNEM Research, one of our project partners, created an HD map of the area, which was actually commissioned by BME. The mapping was done, so some technical details also. Mapping was done with an Leica Pegasus 2 Ultimate Dual Head. And using AA algorithms, this map that you can see on the right-hand side was deducted. You can have it in different formats. And it is, let's say, very accurate with an accuracy of ±2 centimeters accuracy. And you can see different, so everything is there, basically lane, road marking signs, barriers, everything you would expect to be included in an ultra high definition map. So what we also think about in the main project, how we can enhance this map, also with regards to the testing of our EPS system. What developed also within the project is a exchange on different mapping formats between the UNEM Research on the Austrian side and the Budapest Kocsit, who is doing several or like similar mapping activities on the Hungarian side, which is also a very nice outcome of this project. There are just 2 more examples that you can see when we talk about these high definition maps or static ground truth. You have the photos, like pictures taken on the upper side, and on the lower side you can see how this actually looks in the HD mapping world. I also told you that we participated in the scenario definition. So in the measurement campaign, I don't want to tell too many details, but we had several vehicles participating from different companies equipped with DGPS. And we've kind of defined 3 scenarios for us, which helps us to develop our virtual testing environments. And this is just to have some impressions on the work we did. So this is a radar scenario where you can see that during a cut in and cut out, the reflections, so you have more reflections before you cut in, and when you cut in, you can't see the reflections of the second leading vehicle. And this data helps us developing our sensor models for our virtual environment. And another scenario example, this is also for radar sensors. So we want to see, you can see on the top of the picture a picture of the scenario. So you have 3 vehicles driving next to each other, and the question is actually how long can the radar sensor kind of see the 3 vehicles, and at what stage it sort of mixes to one object, and the 3 objects can't be identified anymore. This is just, as I want to say, and within the short period of time, very, very brief and short example on the work we did. And just another picture, because it's rare in 2022. This impression from our first stakeholder workshop. As I said, this was pre-lockdown, and we had the opportunity to meet face-to-face in Graz. Also want at this stage thank everyone from my consortium for this fruitful cooperation, my partners, and also the partners on the Hungarian side. And what do we intend to do with our next step? So we finalize our project reporting. We're very curious what's be released today with regards to the call. We will of course take a deep look into that. We also agreed already on have regular meetings for the call preparation. We are very open and interested in further discussion with relevant stakeholders. So if you're interested in this project, feel free to contact me. And of course, we will prepare an excellent proposal for the follow-up project. So that was basically it from my side. As I said here, my contact details, and if you're interested in the project, feel free to drop me an email. And I'm very much looking forward to the rest of the conference. And thank you, Scholt. Thank you, Victor, for organizing it.
Thank you very much, Jakob, for your presentation. It was very well structured. Now I call the 4th presenter on the floor. I will ask Professor Viktor Tihanyi from the Budapest University of Technology and Economics to give his summary presentation on central system architecture development for automated vehicle testing and operating related services. Viktor, the floor is yours, please.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Jort, for the introduction. Actually, our title is very long, so I will not repeat it currently for this time. Let me introduce myself first. So I'm Viktor Tihanyi from the Technical University of Budapest, and here the leader of the Hungarian consortium project, what Zsolt also mentioned, this long name. In my agenda, I will talk about our consortiums, our technical targets. I will speak about as well a literature review, as well as I will present the measurement campaign, what Jakob has also talked about a little, about a functional sample, cooperation deepening of Austrian-Hungarian partners, and the next steps. So regarding our Hungarian consortium, we have here the Technical University of Budapest as the leader of the consortium, together with Knorr-Bremse R&D Center, Hungary. Our consortium partners were ZalaZONE Proving Ground, Hungarian Public Roads, Ericsson Hungary, Hungarian Telecom, and Budapest Public Roads. I would like to introduce as well a little the 3 Austrian consortiums. You were able to get an insight into their work. What I would like to mention here that we had really good cooperation and really deep topics with them together during this first phase of the project. What our technical targets are currently here. So we started a really challenging topic. What you can see on the image, we would like to realize and develop during these cooperations and projects a so-called central system architecture. The fundamental part of that system is a so-called dynamic map. Formerly, you were able to hear about from our Austrian colleagues that they are doing also similar things. What is really challenging in our site is the real dynamic behavior of this virtual environment. This means in practice that we would like to realize not only the static part, not only the semi-dynamic part of the map, like you can imagine, for example, traffic information or weather information, but we are strongly focused on the highest level of dynamics, the vehicle object information in real time. What does it mean, real time? For us, this is below 100 milliseconds. So at the end of the day, we would like to get a virtual representation of the world in a cloud-based system in below 100 milliseconds compared to the real object movement on the roads that are relevant from the traffic point of view. We would like to include all infrastructure-based sensors, all vehicle sensors, and fuse together this huge amount of information in the cloud. Of course, we are thinking in a distributed system, not in a very central system, in the cloud-based when I'm talking about. So we are focusing on edge computing as well. That's what I meant here. Of course, the communication part is very important. Major topic is 5G communications, as well as we are thinking about the DSRC, and of course, the cyber security. On the first time, we expect that there will be not many automated vehicles that will communicate with our system. So for the first cases, we would like to use this central system for supporting the testing of automated vehicles and later on the operation. What we have done during this first phase of the project, of course, we have checked all the available literature around the topics. You can think about that we would like to merge together two different areas. One of them is informatics, like cloud-based computing, edge computing, together with the automotive industry. This is not a trivial way to do so. Therefore, we had to check both standardizations, legislations, and also the ongoing standardization progress and activities regarding all of these topics. So we have checked and evaluated more than 150 documents and also classified them from the importance view of our system. Now let's talk about a little the measurement campaign, what we have taken in June. Jacob has also mentioned a lot about it. Many Austrian colleagues also joined with their vehicles, and also from Hungary there were a lot of participants. Practically, we have closed a Hungarian motorway section, the M86 3.5 kilometer part, in order to do this testing. We were there for 4 days. We have done also daytime as well as nighttime testing during the days, and we have done more than 120 scenarios during the event. So what was the main goal of this overall measurement campaign for 4 days? As I mentioned, our central system, we have to collect a lot of offline data in order to develop the algorithms, fusion, map systems, communications, and everything. If we don't have enough data, in that case, we are not able to do so. I would not say that these data, what we have collected during these 4 days, will be enough for the overall system development, but we had a really good opportunity to collect many data where we can start our developments. What we have done, so we have closed the motorway. We have also equipped a lot of infrastructure sensors on the road. We have generated the static UHD map of the area by two companies. One of them came from Austria, UNM Research, as Jakob is mentioned as well, and Budapest Közút from Hungary. We had a lot of vehicles, actually 13 vehicles, and I have to say that all of them were equipped with so-called differential GPS devices. With these devices, we were able to record their positions in an accuracy of a centimeter level and in the timing below millisecond accuracy. Therefore, we can say that we have a ground truth information of the vehicle locations, as well the static ground truth from the HD map of the area. Practically everything that is relevant from the point of our system. What we have also done is that we also equipped this road section together with Hungarian Telecom with 5G communication mobile availability, and we have tested also this 5G connection with the moving vehicles in real conditions where automotive usage of such system is relevant. This is a schematic overview of what we have done. As I mentioned, we used the localization static HD map. We equipped the vehicles with sensorics, as well the infrastructure. We also equipped the area with the 5G communication availability and practically recorded and measured everything. This was not only really good for us for providing the data for the central system, but this occasion was also very beneficial from our partners who came with their vehicles, because their vehicles were not only equipped with the GNSS devices, but as well as with the vehicle sensors. From that point of view, they will also get all the data that is required for them to have the ground truth, dynamic and static ground truth. So this was beneficial for all participants. We have also organized one day a media event in order to provide a wide dissemination of our Austrian and Hungarian cooperation. On that, from Hungary, the highest level representatives from Innovation and Technology Ministry, as well as from Knorr-Bremse, Hungarian Public Roads, Telecom, Ericsson, and BME were present. We had, after that, a really strong visibility of this dissemination. Practically more than 40 media releases came out, both from television and from press releases. You can see some sample results, what we have taken during or evaluated after the measurements. You can see the map on the left side where we can put the vehicle trajectories on the map on the Google Earth software here, using also the HD map from UNM Research, and to put a centimeter accurate way the vehicle positions as trajectories. On the right side, on the bottom, you can see our infrastructure sensor photos. One of them on the blue image is the LiDAR, and at the same time, with a synchronized way, the infrastructure camera that took. On the other hand, when we check the ground truth information coming from the GNSS devices, on the right top image, you can see a comparison of a synchronized measurement where our infrastructure camera checked the white vehicle from AFAL Hungary, and we put this information onto the HD map on the same time on the left side of the image with this blue box. You can see the very good correlation between the photo and the ground truth HD map and dynamic vehicle information. Maybe one more comment regarding the measurement campaign, that together with all of our partners from Austria and Hungary, we will together do a common, very significant publication into a high impact journal. Our final topic, what we have done during the project, is that we initiated to develop so-called functional sample that will be realized on the campus of the university, where we would like to equip two infrastructure sensors, use our vehicle sensor, and through the 5G communication, realize this overall system, but in a very small scale as a functional sample. The developments are currently ongoing. Therefore, we expect that in the next weeks, we will get the first results from that. Some words about the deepening of the cooperation of Austrian and Hungarian partners. So first of all, we expect the second phase of the project, which was published in the Eureka environment some days ago, with a total budget of 2.5 million euro in both countries. We really expect and count on that opportunity in the future to widen the cooperation. We have started during the phase 1 project actually 4 H2020 cooperations, where we have submitted 4 different projects together with our Austrian colleagues. And last but not least, we have participated together with our colleagues in the measurement campaign, where we had 5 dynamic ground truth measurement vehicles from Austria, 8 from Hungary, and one on both sides on the mobile mapping vehicles. I can say that it's over our expectations. Therefore, my first impression was that we have really good cooperation with the Austrian colleagues, and we expect much more in the next years. Regarding our next steps, so we have to finalize our functional sample. We have to realize our mini demo at our campus that is expected in the next weeks. We also have to finalize our documentation of the project, and we have to organize the consortium for the next phase, and of course submit the proposal at the end of the day. But I can also tell you that before the announcement of the next phase, as we were collaborating very well with the Austrian partners, we have also started to talk about how we can cooperate, of course, not only this bilateral core level, but also on the other opportunities like H2020 or in the next phase, Horizon Europe programs. And we had also some really good discussions with the individual project partners from Austria. So at the end of the day, thank you very much for your attention. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Victor, for the summary. I would like to pick out just one item for your presentation, that you mentioned that together with the Austrian partners, the Hungarian colleagues prepared or participated for applications for Horizon 2020 calls. Up to now without success, but I think that this kind of cooperation, what we started together, has a definite task to position our region much better on a European level, so that I'm quite sure that in the near future, in the framework of the Horizon Europe calls, we will be much more successful. Thank you. I would like to thank for all the project leaders for their summary, for providing an insight into their project, and also for keeping the time frame. And before I give the word to the Austrian and Hungarian financing agencies to comment the status reports and to provide the feedback, on behalf of ZalaZONE and also on behalf of Digitrans and AlpLab, I would like to thank you very much for their support in initiating this kind of cooperation, and also the excellent collaboration between them and the hard work, because I know that it requires mutual understanding to put together such a cooperation supportive project call within that short time frame. So thank you again. Okay, now I turn to the two research funding agencies, and I would like to ask them to provide feedback about, from their point of view, how they see the ongoing cooperation and how they see the future. And first, I would like to give the word to Mr. Andrea Blust from the Federal Ministry for Climate Action, Environment, Energy, Mobility, Innovation and Technology to give his insight and to have some feedback and comments on the previous presentations. Mr. Blust, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hello, everybody, dear ladies and gentlemen, here from my home office. It's on behalf of the Austrian Federal Ministry for Climate Action, Environment, Energy, Mobility, Innovation and Technology. I would like to welcome you here today in this digital space. You hear I'm not very, my voice is a little bit crutchy, but I hope you can understand everything. The conditions for the cooperation at the moment are very difficult under the rules of distance and social distancing, and we all would like to come to Hungary to carry out this interesting exchange together. We very much appreciate the hospitality in Hungary, and the spread of the COVID virus requires now this special approach. A few years ago, the transport ministers of our two countries committed themselves to cooperation in the field of transport and the related research. And our cooperation now in the research focuses on cross-border testing of automated vehicles between Austria and Hungary is running very well. Automated driving is a worldwide development that crosses all borders, and it is now obvious to meet the technical and organizational challenges with the neighboring countries first, with joint research projects, and ultimately it's also a matter of making a contribution to the European harmonization and to the European development in this topic. Already today, we can look back on the first steps in these cooperations. A series of exploratory projects have worked intensively in various thematic areas to prepare a ground for larger research projects between our countries. This gives us the motivation to work in parallel, and the administrations in Hungary and Austria have prepared for this next step. The task was to create a framework within the interested research actors could find a way to develop cross-border research projects and submit further fundings in this area. In this place, I would like to thank and to take the opportunity to thank all those who made this possible. First of all, the National Research, Development and Innovation Office in Hungary, and also the Austrian Research Promotion Agency in Austria. And my special thanks also go to the 2 Eureka offices in both countries, which have provided us with a very efficient and professional framework for this cooperation. And what is our goal now, and what do we want to achieve? Hungary and Austria have set up large test environments for automated driving in the recent years. And these now offer research projects the best conditions for testing automated driving function. Each of these test environments is characterized by specializations, and together we can provide a particularly wide range of test possibilities for research actors. It is therefore our goal that our test environments are included in the research projects in the future, that we can use this massive investment we have done in the past. And in many transnational cooperations, we have seen that cross-border cooperation between organizations and researchers brings significant added value to the projects. And we therefore very pleased to see which organizations are willing to cooperate in this next important step. It would be a nice sign for both countries if there's a balanced participation here, that the cooperation is very balanced between both sides. And I think this is also very important. So I have only a few minutes for this welcome speech. And so finally, I would like to thank the organizers of the digital event for the preparation and the digital hosting. And I wish you all many ideas for future transnational research projects. And as I thank you for your work you have done, and thank you also for your future ideas we will see in the future. Goodbye. Thank you.
Mr. Vlust, thank you very much for your warm words and all your support toward these activities. Thank you. Now I would like to call Dr. István Szabó, Vice President for Science and International Affairs from the Hungarian National Research Development and Innovation Office, to share his thoughts about this cooperation. Dr. Szabó, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much. As the chat box here says, say something nice, I have to say that in this case it won't be very hard actually, because this whole initiative, this automotive testing ground and the international cooperation itself is not just nice, but an excellent example actually of what we in Hungary are trying to achieve basically, because we believe that there is no domestic science and no domestic innovation. All science and innovation should be international and internationalized as much as possible. Actually, one of the basically the first actually initiative was this autonomous test track to put together all of our resources to tackle a major challenge which is important for, I believe, we can say that without being too humble, for the whole humanity actually, because autonomous driving is not just a technical thing, but it's also a societal issue and economical issue, etc. But I guess all the participants are well aware of that. So basically, we have built an innovation infrastructure. We are used to having research infrastructures like CERN, XFEL, and the like, but now we have innovation infrastructure as well. And we are very happy to see that actually all our partners who were present here understood this major initiative and are taking active part in the development and the innovation which is going on here. And we are very grateful for them that we can cooperate with them in this case as well, because again, it's very important that on domestic level, this whole thing wouldn't have any point basically, but we should put this international. Actually, as I mentioned, this is the first in the line of infrastructures. We are also in the process of forming other such infrastructures. Of course, I don't mean other autonomous test track necessary, but the so-called system of national laboratories, which will be enablers for putting together the Hungarian participants who are capable for doing something which is visible on international part, and it's not just for the individual institutions themselves, but the national laboratories are putting together basically all the manpower, human capacities and infrastructures from all over Hungary, so that the critical mass of infrastructure and human capacities will be available for selected topics. The internationalization is again a very important topic, and I think that the test tracks results are very fine examples of how to do it basically. Just to promote some results which was achieved through this cooperation, it's very important that already innovations which are put alive actually. So, for instance, like the one which was made together with the BME partners, with Ericsson, Hungarian Telecom programs, is very important because it makes innovation happen actually, and not just on a theoretical level, but it's put into practice. Also, the 5G technology, which is built around here, is a quite forward-looking topic. So we believe that here we can build together an innovation hub, which has an impact not just for the region, but for Europe and potentially for the world as well. Based on the experiences of past cooperations, we launch as of today with our Austrian partners another core for a cooperative core, which means that both the Hungarian and both the Austrian side will fund their respective projects. But in each case, these projects are aiming for goals which are put together from the Austrian and from the Hungarian partners as well. Although the funding source is separate, but the goals are common. And this is to bring the research and innovation, which is connected to this autonomous test track, to a much higher and international level. And also, we would like to see these cooperations to bringing up even to a much higher grant scheme, namely for the Horizon Europe grants. So I encourage everybody to think on these joint projects as ones which could be raised up to another level in the Horizon Europe Framework Program as well. I would like to thank again everybody for the participants who are active in this project, because it's basically in each case it's the humans who make things happen. Infrastructures are of course needed and it's a prerequisite, but it's the persons who count really. And I do hope that we will meet in person in the future as well to see actually with our eyes the excellent results which are already very much in progress in the test track. Thank you very much, and I'm wishing you a fruitful conference in the future as well. So in this online forum, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President, especially the positive feedback confirming us that the cooperation is going on the right direction, at least. Thank you very much. And I also would like to thank to both research funding agencies, also in the Austrian and Hungarian side, to take their precious time to taking part in the today's meeting and activities, because it is not usual that the project can provide such a direct feedback to the high-level decision makers. So I think this occasion was very special from that point of view. Thank you for your time. Switching to the next topic of our today's online conference, I have to admit that the reduction of the program items, due to the fact that we had to focus on a smaller and compact online conference, also prevented us to discuss and talk over other important items, like what has been done or what has been achieved on all the other levels, because we were focusing on this Austrian and Hungarian cooperation. But this is the exact reason why Mr. Martin Russ, Managing Director from Austria Tech, offered his participation as a as a summary and to provide us a summary about what happened in these 3 countries on the other levels of dedicated cooperations. So the floor is yours, Martin. Please give your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning to everybody. Maybe just one technical detail. Is it possible that I share my screen? But I think if this is possible, but I think it's too complicated. Then I do it the other way around. Maybe this is easier. So maybe you, because maybe I do this and you click. This could be good. No, I think it's not working that way. But I'm not able to share my screen. I should do my, so let me see. Okay. Okay. So let's do it that way. If you go that. So just coming back to what Salt already has said on the Memorandum of Understanding in general. So it's infrastructure for testing, national strategies, the implementation of the technologies, R&D, the focus of the day, the public road tests. Yes, we have seen some. And in general, more, I think, is a mutual cooperation of the different parties that are engaged. So research institutes, industries, and so on. This is also something that we've seen. Maybe you go further. So when we see the core elements, of course, the test beds and the legal frameworks. Yes, we have been good on the test beds, but not on the legal frameworks. We've done a lot on the capacity building. Also on the implementation perspective, there has been a lot of activities, and also on the joint positions on the European level, as just mentioned before by Victor. Maybe go to the next. Just on the cooperation on the public road authorities, there have been several meetings, and also I think a lot of focus also on technical details like harmonization of DataX profiles, what kind of specific ITS or CITS messages do we need and should we adapt, and also on the, let's say, new strategies of traffic management, especially for mixed traffic scenarios, where we had our project Inframix, for instance, and there have been specific testing days on that specific issues. So I think the next meeting is also planned for the upcoming weeks between the road authorities. The next. This is more the Austrian perspective on the testing on public roads. As you see, there has been a lot of activities. I think a lot of test applications and test certificates given. We are actually, for instance, also discussing with the Hungarian partner to enable them to test in Austria. And we actually also try to improve a little bit or make our exemption procedures that we have nationally a little bit more future-proof. This is hard work. You can imagine, I think this is the same thing in every country actually. We are not there to have a more, let's say, flexible regime for handling exemption procedures like in a sandbox, for instance. Just the next. So for us, of course, as mentioned, in Austria, also by Andreas Plus, the capacity building was really key so far. So we have the test environment, a lot of research pilots, competence centers dealing with the issue of automated and digital transport, and same thing happening on the university where we have different endowed chairs that the ministry is financing. Maybe we go to next. But let me come to a more general thing where we had a lot of discussion in the last year, so to say, how do we engage with citizens? So not on the far, far future, but also on the next steps to do. How do we explain all these new technologies? How do we give guidance also on policy targets that are behind automated transport? And then go to the next. And so what we, for instance, did so far, or actually are planning, is we created a citizen dialogue where we take part really in a broad discussion with our citizens. We do regular surveys on the acceptance and knowledge levels. Maybe you go to the next. We do annual monitoring report, and we installed a so-called social ethical forum now on CCAM, where we support and advise the ministry for future actions. We look into HMI and safety aspects, and also into future jobs that are dealing with automation. And last not least, we try to develop a so-called shopper's guide for actual ADAS or ADAS systems of the next 2 years, for instance, and also to give those things or put those things into driver education training concepts. So I think there's a lot of potential to work together here in the countries to create a more wider perspective or more, let's say, broader engagement with the wider public. Next. Just an example on getting in touch with the citizens and users. We took part in a global citizens dialogue last year in 5 Austrian cities. And there's one nice thing, I think for all of us, quite inspiring, what people tell us. Automated mobility is the future of transport. And so I think this is a promise we have to deliver on. And actually, when you look into trust levels, you see the higher the level of automation, so the safer it gets, the lower the trust, actually. So I think because it's so wide in the future that people hardly can imagine what a level 5 future of robotaxis is all about. But we have to do this and deliver insights and understanding step by step, level by level. We will go next. The next thing that we are quite interested in, I think this was also the focus of a discussion or between our ministers of Hungary and Austria. So what about sustainable development? What are the contributions of automated mobility towards environmental impact? And we did, together with the Austrian test beds, so Digitrans and Outlab, we worked quite hard on that issue in the last month. And I think there's also some insights to share. And maybe you go to the next slide. So of course, what kind of sustainable development goals do we address? We see it's the future of industry. It's of course climate action, but also it's a sustainable use of our infrastructure of the future. And it's also about good health and well-being if we avoid fatalities in transport. So maybe you go to the next, just as an example, then when we work with the test beds, so what is the contribution? Of course, it's about the regional test competencies itself. We do really add regional value. This means not only for Austria, but for our region, Hungary, Slovenia, and Austria. We are removing entry barriers for industry into a new field. We can do education for safety drivers. We get really know-hows from all these tests and get first-hand experience and engage with the wider public, as just mentioned. And we see the test beds and what we do is a building block or so-called a central building block of a digital transport mobility ecosystem of the future. And last not least, we learn how to steer along environmental goals. So with all these facilities, we can do green driving for support, for instance. So, but also we create a baseline for sustainable business, and sustainable business is the baseline for sustainable mobility. But I think this should be our common story when we also talk about automation. Of course, in the core, we see safety, but safety is a prerequisite that enables us to deliver towards other goals. And this you should not forget. Maybe you go to the next. And last not least, because we had several discussions on that, and it was also mentioned beforehand, the European level, Horizon Europe. So, and there comes along the CCAM partnership. The proposal has been delivered beginning of July, and we see a lot of important clusters and topics there. all the research topics that has been done by single calls are now so to say, coordinated by the partnership. And there are certain clusters that are of very central importance, I think, for our collaboration. Of course, the demonstration, so cluster 1 itself, the cluster 3, the validation, which is what all the test environments are for. The integration into the system, so this kind of vehicle infrastructure coordination, this was also a focus in the very beginning. And Victor just mentioned the 5G support, for instance, on the M86 measurement campaign and on the ZalaZONE test environment. And last but not least, it's about coordination and ecosystems. And I think this is an important aspect where we bring our local regional ecosystems in, let's say, in coordinate them with the European level. Maybe you go to the next. And just to give you a glimpse overview on what the partnership is all about, who should be in there, you see it on the left side, research providers, industries from different sectors, cities, regions, and so on. And what we should develop. So not just single components, but also, I think, new services to end users and what we need to do for that. And I think this should also be kind of the framework for our focus areas of the future. And coming to the last on that, this is what we've done so far. And I think also a great thank to Scholt, who was sharing those perspectives and developing those perspectives together with some other countries like Sweden or France on how do we interrelate our regional and national activities with these new European entities. And so we need to have a practical link to our ecosystems. We need really to do things stepwise and coming from testing and validation into operation. And I think what we do here nationally and regionally is kind of the baseline for certain packages and not just philosophy on European level. And what we really need, or where we need this alignment for, is also to bring those expertise, I think, also into practice. And this can be done, I think, and with an idea that we created, like the Digital Hub initiative that's out there, where we have a hub initiative for European testbeds, for instance. So I think this is just some perspective on what we should work on in the upcoming months and years. And with that, I'm stopped, and thank you very much.
Special thanks for taking the responsibility to summarize and widen our focus in a much wider scope, and to summarize the other activities more than the research and development cooperation. I'm quite sure that there are a lot of questions will be coming, and I also would like to encourage all of our participants and the audience to pose their questions through the online system, so that we can organize, structure the questions, and we can pose the questions to the relevant people in the question and answer sections. So please ask your questions to us. So once again, thank you very much for Martin Russ, Managing Director of Austria Tech, for providing us a summary about the multi-layer activities. Thank you. Our next section, I would like to ask the Austrian and Hungarian research funding agencies to announce the next phase of the Austrian-Hungarian CCAM-related research partnership. You had the chance to hear of this from some of the presentations, so we are really excited about it. And first, I would like to give the word to Mr. Michael Walsh and Mr. Verena Eder, Program Manager, FFG, from the Austrian Research and Promotion Agency, to provide their views on this new call and the announcement. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me. I will share my screen. So I hope it works now and you can see my screen. So I would like to present the tender opportunities with my colleagues. So I will just give a short introduction to Eureka, because that's the framework that is applied here to facilitate the international cooperation. So as some of you probably know, that Eureka is an international network that is very well represented in Europe. So most of the European countries participate in this network, but it's a global network that spans further than just across Europe. And within this network, we would like to facilitate research, development, and innovation projects. So the framework that we use here is that we have a distributed public-private partnership. This was already mentioned. So we have one international Eureka project with participants from different countries, but the participants from these different countries have to get funding from their national funding bodies. So the participants from Austria get funding from the Austrian funding bodies. The participants from Hungary get funding from the Hungarian funding body. But this implies that some activities are required on the international, on the Eureka level, and some activities are required on the national level to get the funding. I just want to briefly mention that Austria currently also is holding the role of the chairmanship for the Eureka network, and the program for this chairmanship is a new Eureka. So we would like to celebrate the 35 years anniversary of Eureka, but also advance it in the right direction. So we are developing new programs like new Eureka clusters. We would like to facilitate a larger global outreach, like with new Global Stars call with Singapore or South Africa or others. And we would like to increase the current forms of cooperation. And this brings me to the call that is now starting between Austria and Hungary. So we are starting this Eureka call on cross-border testing of automated driving. And the goal is to develop innovative and close-to-market solutions that have a strong market potential for Austria and Hungary. I've already seen in the chat that the slides will be shared. So here is the link to the call text on the Eureka homepage. So please check this out and read the call text carefully. And here is the timeline for the call. So today is the opening day for the Eureka call. So this is basically starting from today, you can submit your Eureka application. And starting from 21st of October in Austria, there will be the opening of the national call, which is the Mobility of the Future, Mobilität der Zukunft call. And after these calls open, you should contact the national funding body in Austria and probably also in Hungary and discuss if the project is eligible or discuss any additional steps that you should take or any information that you want to have with us. So please contact us in Austria. We would be very happy to get in contact with you. And then you have to submit the proposals. So you have to submit the national proposal, so for the national funding schemes. And you have to submit the international Eureka proposal, which should focus on the overall project and how the projects benefit from the international cooperation. So there are deadlines for both of these calls. So the Eureka call ends before the national call in Austria. And after this, the calls will be evaluated. There will be a funding decision and a Eureka label, and you can start then the project. So here are the contact details. That is myself, Michael Walch, and my colleagues. And from themed programs, which is the funding scheme in Austria, you also have the contact details. And there is a presentation by Verena Eder now about more details on the program, the funding scheme in Austria. So thank you. That is from my side.
Dear Mr. Walch, thank you very much for your presentation. we have now a much better understanding of the Eureka structure and about the call. Frankly speaking, initially we planned to have a joint presentation of the Austrian and Hungarian research funding agencies, and it could have been done in the presence of all these presenters, but due to the COVID situation, we had to split it to 2 online presentations. So I will now give the word to Mr. Gergely Mészáros, Eureka National Project Coordinator from the Hungarian National Research Development and Innovation Office. Yeah, sorry then. I missed the program. So Mrs. Verena Eder, also from the program manager, FFG, Austrian Research Promotion Agency. Please, then the word is yours.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. I was so happy the screen sharing worked and then you missed me out. So my name is Verena Eder from the Austrian Research Promotion Agency as well. I'm responsible for the topic of automated mobility within the funding program Mobility of the Future. And I will give you some short information on our upcoming call together with Hungary on joint research and development projects on cross-border testing of automated driving. First of all, some general information. What is going on here? First of all, some general information. We are talking about the joint call together with Hungary, focusing on developing innovative products, applications in the domain of cross-border testing. These projects should increase the level of cooperation between our 2 countries in the long run and also strengthen joint appearance of the Central European Economic Area as well. So as my colleague already mentioned, for each project, it is necessary to submit a funding application to us as FFG for the Austrian partners, as well as another one to NRDI office for Hungarian partners. And at the same time, every consortium has to apply for Eureka labeling, since this joint call is taking place within this framework of Eureka. So the Eureka timeline has already been presented. I will just briefly focus on the timeline for the national Austrian application. So our Mobility of the Future call is going to open next Wednesday, the 21st of October, which is when our regular twice-a-year national call would have started anyway. So you have to be patient for a couple of days. Submission deadline will be on the 10th of February next year. I think it's the same for the Hungarian call. After submission, all the projects will be checked formally, will be evaluated by external experts, and the funding decision for the Austrian part is expected to happen in May or June, the latest, so projects should be able to start in June or July next year. You will find all the detailed information on applying, on the topic and the scope of the tender on this website that is linked here, but it will only be available from Wednesday on. So right now there is not much information to be found yet. So our tendering instrument for Austrian project partners will be the Cooperative Research and Development Project, which is probably well known to many of the Austrian participants on here. Still, I will give you a short overview on the basic parameters. Our full budget available for this call is 2.5 million euro for Austrian partners. Funding per project ranges from 100,000 up to 2 million euros. The funding rate depends on the type of your organization as well as the applicable research category, and it ranges from 35 to 85%. Maximum duration of the funded projects is 3 years. And as the name of the instrument already indicates, cooperation is required. And the Austrian part of the consortium consists of at least one company together with one or more independent partners. The minimum requirement for a consortium is a small or medium enterprise or a research facility that is taking part in the project. So here you can see the different funding rates depending on the type of organization, if it's a small enterprise, a large enterprise, a research facility, as well as our two research categories. You have to associate your project to one of these two categories, either industrial research, which is closer to basic research, has a high scientific technical risk and also higher funding rates, or it can be an experimental development project, which is closer to the market, has a lower risk and therefore lower funding rates. So since time is limited, I wanted to quickly point out some of the most important information for Austrian funding applicants. So for every project, at least one partner from Hungary is mandatory. It is also important to note that no individual organization nor an individual country is allowed to claim more than 70% of the total budget for the joint project. And we as FFG can only fund Austrian project partners with money provided by the Austrian government. When applying, you have to upload your Eureka application as an annex in your national Austrian application. So we do have the information about your full project as well as your partners from Hungary as well. And when it comes to the projects from the exploratory call last year that were just presented before, of course, a continuation of these projects is very welcome, but it is not required, not mandatory. We are as well open to new applicants, new consortia, and new ideas. And last but not least, as already mentioned, it is very important to note that only projects that were evaluated positively on the Austrian side as well as the Hungarian side and were put forward for Eureka labeling can be funded. So you should put emphasis on all three of these necessary applications to be successful and carry out your funding project. So thank you very much for listening. Here you can find my contact data, and please don't hesitate to ask any questions that might arise. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frau Ede, for the detailed explanation. And I'm really sorry about my misunderstanding of the agenda, that there were two separate presentations in the Austrian side. So thank you again. And now I turn to Mr. Gergely Mészáros, Eureka National Project Coordinator from the Hungarian National Research Development and Innovation Office. Please give your presentation.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you very much for the invitation. Try to share my screen. So I will shortly introduce the Eureka in Hungary and the main terms and conditions to apply for funding Eureka, the Austrian-Hungarian bilateral cooperation for automated driving. So firstly, I would like to share some details in order to the main responsibilities of the NRDI office in EU international programs. So NRDI office, which is a background institute of the Ministry for Innovation and Technology in Hungary, coordinating and financing the Hungarian participation in large international research infrastructures, and especially supervises the construction of the ELI Extreme Light infrastructure in Hungary. We are managing bilateral intergovernmental scientific and technological relation in cooperation with the Ministry for Innovation and Technology, as I mentioned earlier. We are taking part in EU decision-making and legislative processes in the field of RDI. And we are coordinating of the EU Horizon 2020 program-related activities, which means that nearly all the activities are incorporated in the office on the field of national contact points and program committee members. We are managing national support programs to facilitate the Hungarian participation in Horizon 2020. And last but not least, we are representing Hungary in multilateral RDI programs with European focus, especially Eureka and the COAST program. And now, in this role, I represent the Austrian-Hungarian Eureka call. So Austria and Hungary are launching a call for joint R&D projects on cross-border testing and automated driving. And this call will build on the results of the preparatory call launched in May 2019 between Austria and Hungary. As my Austrian colleague mentioned, in the participation of this call it's a very strong background in order to participate in this Eureka call, but it's not mandatory. And we also open to launch other participants in order to present their ideas in the frame of this call. And I would like to highlight that partners from other Eureka countries or countries outside of Eureka can also participate, but their participation will not be financed by other national authorities, so they may also self-finance their part of these projects. So I would like to share some details with the call. So the scope of the call is to increase the sustainable impact of cooperation between the Austrian and Hungarian test environments, to improve technology and methods as well as test procedure within the national framework of these cooperating test areas, have an impact on the operation of future connected and automated mobility, expand the value chain and portfolio of testing opportunities, to improve concepts for harmonized data collection and data management, and also support the joint cross-border seamless evaluation of automated driving functions. Please consider the requirements of different vehicle classes, vehicle equipment and drive system in the multidimensional mixed traffic based on ODDs. Take advantage of the interaction of multinational framework conditions and developments and validation, of course. Enable the definition and demonstration of best practices in cross-border transport, and are conducive to the joint occurrence of the Central European Economic Area, and the potential assessment and test of ITS services and traffic as well, with the special highlight of the Green Deal point of view. Especially in Hungary, the type, rate, and amount of funding. So the type of funding are grants with a dedicated total budget of 2.5 million euros, same in Austria. The funding amount per project is a minimum 50 million, maximum 200 million Hungarian forints from the budget of the NRDI fund managed by the National Research Development Innovation Office. The funding rate is 80% for small enterprises, 75% for medium enterprises, and 65% for large companies. The funding rate for universities and RTOs is 100%, but I would like to highlight that their cooperation with for-profit organizations is mandatory from the Hungarian side. Some words on eligibility. The lead partner must be from one of the countries involved in the call, so one from Austria and one from Hungary, as my Austrian colleague had mentioned earlier. The project partners must express their willingness to cooperate. The product, process, or service must be innovative, and there must be a technological risk involved. The project must have a civilian purpose, and the project should benefit all involved partners in a well-balanced consortium. So, as mentioned earlier, no individual race, organization, or country can claim more than 70% of the total budget for the entire joint project. The project should have an obvious advantage and added value resulting from the technological cooperation between the participants. Partners are required to have previously opened a draft consortium agreement, and project proposals must include the written support letters of a test environment from Austria and Hungary. All partners must complete the Eureka project application from online, which is available through the Eureka Smart Simple platform, and it must be completed online by the 27th of January 2021. This form must be completed in English, and using this portal, the completion of one application form is required per consortium in English. The participants can upload a Gantt chart, one per consortium, a signed and completed co-signature form, which you can download from the platform, and you have to check for completeness and eligibility on this service. The final step is to complete and sign consortium agreement. The completion and signing of the consortium agreement will be mandatory with the projects who will receiving the Eureka label. The Hungarian participants must submit separate national full proposals via the Hungarian electronic portal for proposals, information and communication, the EPTK platform. And the evaluation of the Hungarian project is carried out by external experts. The project must fulfill the national criteria. You can find this web link, which will be available altogether in time with the Austrian national website. And regarding all the national terms and conditions, you can navigate throughout this link. Participants are invited to contact the MPC, which is myself. You can find my contact details here. I can inform you via email, personal meetings, or by phone, and I will I will inform you all the details of this call. The opening of the call is today. The deadline for Eureka applications internationally is 27th of January 2021. The deadline for national applications are the same as in Austria, the 10th of February 2021. And the Eureka label and funding decision will be expected in April 2021 with an expected project start in early summer next year. Thank you very much for your attention, and for all the other information, please do not hesitate to ask.
Thank you very much for the very detailed explanation of the application process. I'm quite sure that this will be very useful for the participants for the application when they get the slide, also the slides of yours. So again, I would like to thank you very much for both the Austrian and Hungarian research funding agencies for the effective collaborative work putting this next call together in a such harmonized way. And we are looking forward to continue the Austrian and Hungarian research cooperation. Thank you very much. Okay, we are now switching to the question and answers section of our online conference. I would like to encourage all of our participants to pose their questions on the online surface in the questions area. There has a lot of questions arrived. I would like to summarize some of them, and I would like to pose the first question to Professor Wren. There has been several questions about the potential participation of Slovenia in the joint Austrian-Hungarian research cooperation in different form. Can you tell us anything on this? how we can proceed on that, or what the Slovenian participants can expect to join this research cooperation. Please, Professor Ren. We have some technical problems connecting Professor Ren to answer this question. So we will switch to then the Austrian-Hungarian financing agencies. What can they say about the extension of the Austrian-Hungarian research cooperation into the direction of Slovenia and potentially into the direction of Germany? I think we should give the word first to Austria and then maybe to Hungary.
Thank you. I think it's a good question, interesting questions. So I will say two different things as an answer. The first is on the level of the Eureka application. It's in principle possible for participants from other countries to participate in this Eureka application next to participants from Austria and Hungary. So under this call, you have to have participants from Austria and Hungary in the application, but in addition, you could have partners from Germany or from Slovenia or in principle any other country that is a Eureka member or associated member. But these participants from other countries have to secure funding. And this is the problem of these participants. So if somebody from Germany would like to participate, he has to contact his funding agency and ask them if there is money available. This is the first option. And the second option that I can possibly see, but this would have to be answered on a project level basis. Sometimes it's possible that partners from other countries are funded by Austria in this example, but it would be a very unusual case. So I don't know if it's possible in this call anyway, but theoretically, I think if there is a partner, but maybe Verena could answer this better, if this is a possibility in this call. But in principle, in the Eureka application, you have to have a partner from Austria and Hungary, and you could have an additional partner from another country.
Mr. Wach, thank you very much. Just please hold on for a second because another question has arrived. Just a second. The question was very specific about the application, the Eureka application. It says that will the same proposal have to be submitted at least on the Austrian and Hungarian and European level? So should the applicants file exactly the same application to Austria, Hungary, and also to the European Union?
I'll try to answer it from
thank you very much.
From the Austrian perspective. It doesn't have to be the same proposal, which is why we in Austria would like to have your Eureka proposal as well for informational purposes. Since we just fund Austrian applicants, we need, of course, detailed information on what their plans are, what their costs are, what their just like a normal proposal for national funding, and as well in an annex your Eureka proposal. What your proposal to Hungary is, we don't necessarily need to know that in detail.
I understand. Thank you very much for your answer. Thank you. I would like to ask the Hungarian promotion agency if they would like to comment the first question regarding the extension of the Austrian-Hungarian research cooperation into the Slovenian or into the German direction.
I would like to reinforce the message what my Austrian colleagues said. According to my information, Slovenia and Germany have no secured public funding for this call. However, Slovenian and German participants are warmly welcome to this call in case of self-financing or alternative fund or using an alternative funding sources. But I would like to highlight that in case of a possible participation of Slovenian, or German participants, all they have met all the expectations of Eureka rules. So it's very important.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the extension and the comment. Thank you. Okay, the next question I would like to pose, I will pose it to Mr. Martin Rus, who provided us a very good insight of what happened in these three countries in the past 1 year, because the question is about that there are visible activities and progress in the cooperation of the universities and the public road companies. What should we do to encourage the rest 3 of the 5 areas? Martin, would you be available for the answer?
Hello.
Hello, Martin. Could you hear the question?
Hi. Yeah, I could hear the question.
Please.
I think one thing on coming to the legal side, for instance, I think the first thing is, of course, with the legal side, to go into our test procedures. They are still not really harmonized.
We face some technical issues, I think, in the transmission. We will wait an additional 10 seconds, whether we can rejoin to Martin Rus. Meanwhile, I would like to pose the next and maybe yes, the last question to the project leaders that provided the project review of the bilateral Austrian-Hungarian cooperation, is that how could we prepare the best for the Horizon Europe calls together? Because there are already open calls for the year 2021. What would be the best strategy for us to take part the winning consortium on a European level?
Hello, is it working now again?
Yes, thank you, Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. It's now
Okay.
working. Okay, please.
Okay, I think you heard my legal perspective. The other thing
Exactly.
is really on the goals, on the environmental goals and so on. I think this is maybe something also that we have to look into, especially when focusing on Green Deal issues, but also I think this will be important to deal also with in respect to the CCAM partnership. And so also I think the third thing is really this international collaboration that you also mentioned. Yes, we tried to do something together. We have not been successful so far on the international level, but I think we should try. Yeah? We should try harder. We should prepare ourselves better. And this means also a certain kind of strategic alignment, not only us together, so Hungary, Slovenia, and Austria, but also, let's say, building closer ties to other countries. I think, of course, Germany has been mentioned today, but I think it's also maybe possible to think about Czech Republic, Slovakia. But on the other hand, it should also be something where we see that there is also a kind of a regional collaboration issues now quite strong, or also to build up a strong national ecosystem like in Sweden. Norway is starting to do that. There are quite interesting activities in France, and I think this should be a common discussion that we should run for.
These are really good examples, and thank you very much for your supportive words, Martin. Thank you. Thank you again. And I would like to ask the project leaders whether they would like to have a comment on the last question concerning the Horizon Europe applications for 2021.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I think we should definitely try to have that in our minds, to have a common application for Horizon 2020 and follow-up proposals in our minds, and we should keep contact and keep discussing that beyond our application for the calls which were announced today on the national and on the binational level between Austria and Hungary. So the FleetQuad project definitely is open for input on that.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment. Norbert Heinitz is on the other side of the line. Norbert, connection is established. Yes, Norbert, please.
It is established already.
Yeah,
thank you for this question. We always are open for cooperations, and of course, as Mrs. Putz said before, this must be a part of this project that we are planning for the next call. And we are always open. And if you have an established cooperation, for example, or an established consortium, please contact me. If you want to apply to one of these calls, this would be very nice, and we could come to a bilateral discussion offline then. So it's more easy to start it smaller and then go further.
Fully agree with you. Fully agree with you. Thank you very much, Norbert. And maybe we can hear one or two sentences also from Jakob Rekenson, if we may establish the connection.
Hello again.
With Jakob, yes, please.
Yes. So obviously we are also, I think I'm in line with my Austrian colleagues. We are very happy to target more opportunities. Also, this kind of a little bit reduces the risk of not being successful in a proposal. But the question actually was like, how can we be more successful? And I think the easiest and maybe most effective way is to show, as we did it today, that we have working demonstrators, work done and built, again, attach another topic to this, what has been shown. And therefore I'm very optimistic that we will be successful together. Also, virtual vehicle has been, I think, quite good reputation on a European level, and we're more than happy to go next steps together in a common way. And I think we have a very good bilateral communication also, and we will definitely continue that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jakob. I think the time has arrived. That was a very good Schlusswort or end word for finishing this very effective online conference. If I look out through the window, I see that the rain has stopped here in Zalaegerszeg at ZalaZONE, and the sun is beautifully shining. And I'm convinced that it also has a symbolic meaning that next year we can continue the 4th trilateral conference in person all together with you. So I would like to thank you very much for your online participation, especially for our speakers, Professor Ren, Veronika Putz, Norbert Heinitz, Jakob Rekenson, Viktor Tihanyi, the participation of the Austrian and Hungarian research promotion agencies, and the representation of Austria Tech by means of Martin Rus. So thank you very much again for your participation, and see you next year here in ZalaZONE in person. Goodbye. Bye-bye.